Fall. It means there's a crisp chill in the air. It's time to gather wood for the season's first fire, and the leaves are piling up outside. But along the coast of South Carolina, fall is kind of like summer, only cooler. Fires are simply for roasting oysters, and the only raking you might do is in a sand trap of one of our many challenging golf courses. Tap now to discover the joys of fall on the coast of South Carolina, or visit fallinsc.com.
Hey y'all, Darius Rucker here. You know, a lot of people ask me, what inspires your music? And one of the big things is a strong sense of place. That's why I love my home state of South Carolina and want to share the awesome things it has to offer. From the beautiful mountains down to the sunny coast, it's got it all. Not to mention two of my personal favorites, great golf and amazing food. Come see why I love this place. Visit discoversouthcarolina.com.
Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Join us as we seek the truth and travel the long road to justice. Hi, everybody. It's Sunday. Time for another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I am Gigi. What's good, Fruit Loop?
I'm still having a travel hangover.
Yeah, you guys clocked some miles.
We did. I forgot to figure it up. I was gonna figure it up, but we made some time on the road.
Every time I tracked you guys, you were in the car.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but you guys went to Birmingham and did some business for your uncle. Took my oldest with you.
Oh my goodness, we had the best time.
Yeah, she had a great time, but I have to say, I've never seen that kid so tired as she was last night.
Oh yeah. Yesterday in the car, she was done. She was like, because we had a chance, we could have stayed over and then came home today.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I'm ready to go. I'm like, I told her, I said, it's up to you. But we ate the best barbecue that I've ever eaten.
She brought home some barbecue sauce, and right when you guys got back into town last night, I had put in an order on Uber Eats for a steak. And so we were eating, and she says, you have to try this barbecue sauce. So I literally dipped my steak in that barbecue sauce the entire time. It was so good.
Isn't it good? It's called, and a shout out to Ben who listens to us. He shot us some names of places to go, and it's called Saul's Barbecue. And the lady who waited on us was Lisette, and she was awesome. It was a cool little place. We can put some pictures on our social media, I think.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Of the place or whatever, but it was just, it literally, it was like this old place, and it had the smoker thing in the wall. So it was really good.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I mean, the barbecue sauce alone, I could have just turned the bottle up.
Yeah. So we went and, the Piggly Wiggly, and we laughed because I was like, oh, the Piggly Wiggly. We went and got their sauces at the Piggly Wiggly, because they sell it there. So
yeah,
it was really good. Then we had cookies from Dream Cakes, which is a business a few doors up from the barbecue place. And oh my goodness, it was this peanut butter cookies, something another. Oh, it was so good.
You guys just had you a fine little time.
Oh, yeah.
I especially love giving her spending money. And an hour and a half after you guys hit Birmingham, she calls and says, I found some antiques. I'm broke.
Yeah. Yeah. She spent it all in one place. But
yeah.
She got some good stuff.
She got some really, really cool stuff. So I appreciate you taking her, and she had a blast. And I think you guys are heading back in a couple weeks, and I might just have to tag along for some Saul's barbecue.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
We went there twice.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, we actually had time, and we were like, okay, let's go back. And then we bought a cooler and ice, and we took it with us. But then we ate it before we left the stadium, so.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
It's a really glowing review for Saul's Barbecue.
Oh, yeah. Go eat there. They have like 3 different things. The Juke Joint, Saul's Juke Joint or something down there somewhere. It has music and stuff there.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, the one we went to, I think, may have been the original because it was smaller, but yeah, it was good.
Sometimes those little hole-in-the-wall barbecues have the best barbecue you'll find.
Oh, yeah.
There's just something to be said for these places that are 50, 60 years old.
Yeah.
That are still kicking it.
The ribs looked amazing, and you know Taylor is a rib eater.
Oh, yeah.
But she was like, I'm still getting the pulled pork because it was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad y'all have fun.
Yeah, you had fun with Sherlock.
Okay. First of all, thank you to everybody who gave me tips on how to get this cat home when he decided to sneak out for the whole night. He came strutting in that next morning like nothing had happened. And so I have an extra room in my house, which is very close to my bedroom, and I'm able to shut a door off. And we had to get him out of the studio because he had already destroyed a pair of my Beats. He chewed through the wires. And so we just decided with all our new equipment, we didn't want to risk having to purchase replacement wires. So I made this awesome little cat room. It's got like a little jungle gym in there. And so last night I said, well, I'm just going to shut my bedroom door. He's got 2 rooms literally and a big, huge walk-in closet to kind of play in. So he was asleep at my feet. And by 2:30, he was awake. So he jumps. I have a really tall dresser, jumping up on that. And every time he jumps, he makes this sound and it's like, oh. So then you would hear him hit and then he would meow really loud and then he would run across my gut. So I would sit up, just sit straight up as soon as he ran across my old dog Thunder, who's 12. He just at one point about 3:30, he comes and stands by my bed and stares at me like, are you serious?
Get the cat out of here.
Because normally my dogs sleep by our bed. And so I opened the door to where he can run through the house, just thinking he'll go somewhere. He goes in my son's room. My son throws him out of the room, slams the door, goes in Sarah Rose's room, opens the door, throws the cat out. Taylor's texting me, get your cat. So finally at 4 a.m., I brought him back here in the studio. And he's been whining all day. He's just got to get fixed.
Yeah.
He's got to get fixed. I bought a tent to let him go outside because my luck, he's going to get hit by a car or attacked. And then I have to go spend a couple of grand on a cat.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to prevent that. So we had some wind today and the cat's out in the tent and I look outside and that tent is rolling across the front yard with the cat in it. And he's trying to get a grip on something, but it's just, the bottom's like plastic or whatever tents are made of. So I'm tired and I'm just at this point, I'm thinking about, letting him out.
He's going to be an outside cat from now on.
Oh my gosh. It's just been a whole thing. I think I might leash train him though.
Oh, here we go. This is going to be like the potty training.
No, I mean, how hard can it be to leash train him?
Okay. How many cats have you ever seen walking with somebody on a leash?
Like once in Venice Beach in California.
on the West Coast.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
but
hey, I got some tent stakes you can use to stake that tent down.
Well, okay. So then after it collapsed, because it was literally like a tumbleweed going across my yard with the cat in it. I took 4 of my small screwdrivers out there because I didn't have stakes and I was going to drive them down. And now I can't even figure out how to get the tent back up. It's what do you call them? The little poles. They're all messed up. And so I just give up. Whatever. Ugh.
Rolling.
He's more work than my newborns were. And he's much louder.
Yeah.
You want a cat?
No, I'm good. I'm good.
I'm going to ask your mom if she wants a little cuddly kitty.
You better not.
Oh.
Cats are, we were talking about this. Cats are just, they're their own person. And if they know you don't really care for them, they come at you that much worse.
But I care for him, and he knows
No,
this.
I'm not saying you. I'm saying me.
Oh.
Like, I'm not a cat. Okay, I don't hate cats, but they're just not my favorite thing.
Yeah, mine either.
And he harasses me something horrible.
Oh, yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we had somebody ask us, what is it like for females that are in prison for child murder? And my friend who's in prison, she is in with some pretty high-profile inmates, one of which is a female that had a pretty mainstream media case that is in prison for murder. And she actually emailed me this weekend and told me this inmate had been getting beaten and robbed so bad that she actually attacked a prison guard just to get put in segregation to get a break.
Oh, wow.
So if that gives you any idea of how women killers that kill their children are treated in prison, I'm not sure if it's that way across the board, but this woman's case was big. So That's an example.
Yeah.
Somebody had just asked that, and literally the next day, without me even asking her, because I'd asked her, "Are you in there with this person?" And she was like, "Yes, I am." And not pretty.
That's crazy.
Not pretty at all.
But it gives insight into what it's going to be like for Lori when she gets in there. So
yeah, if we ever get to trial, we've got that delay. They did do a hearing on June 9th at 9 a.m. and it looks like that's going to be a scheduling conference.
yeah, about those dates.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they didn't have to sit there and
It's not going to be anything super.
You'll get to see Mean sit there with his long face.
Yeah.
And then maybe Pryor will say something.
Yeah, I'm keeping my eye on the Idaho Cases of Interest webpage to see if anything is updated. But other than this, there hasn't been anything posted really in 3.5 weeks other than this scheduling conference. So it's slow going. It's going to be slow going for a very long time. People are already getting frustrated with the delays, and it's just the way it goes.
Yeah. So Colby had a birthday.
He did. Happy birthday, Colby.
Yeah.
His wife did a surprise video for him that I was able to watch, and it was wonderful. It was so cool. There was a lot of people, obviously, that Colby knew and loved that were wishing him happy birthday. At the end, there was some Christian rap artist that wished him a happy birthday. He was very shocked.
That's cool.
And they also had texts from Tylee to him on previous birthdays, and then they had the sweetest video of JJ wishing Colby a happy birthday.
Oh, that's cool.
So it had to be bittersweet for him. And he did take some of the well wishes out for privacy reasons. But it was really, really sweet to watch. I hope he had a great day. He seemed like he was very happy in that video, very surprised to see from a lot of people. So it was nice to see him smile. And then he got very emotional at times. And so hopefully he had a great day with his cute little family.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right. So what else? We're going to do this. We're going to pick back up on our A Glimpse at Life series today. And a lot of people have been very interested in hearing what it was like for my friend to give birth while incarcerated. So we're going to jump into that.
Yeah, this is good stuff.
It's good. It's heartbreaking. It's very sad.
Yep.
So I think the thing that bothers me in just doing research about women who are pregnant when they're incarcerated, there's no, as far as I can tell, there's no mandatory standard of care for women who are incarcerated and pregnant.
Yeah, it's, I know I've said this 10 times, but it's crazy because the baby didn't ask to be born into any of what's going on. Mm-hmm. So you would think there would be some standard care to help take care of the baby.
Right. But it doesn't seem that across the board there are standards that they're kept to. One of the common complaints, according to her and other women, is during the pregnancy, it is very hard in a normal sense. And I told you guys the last episode, I gained 80 pounds with Sarah Rose. You're always hungry when you're pregnant. At least I was. And there's no guarantee that you're going to get more than your 3 meals a day.
That's great. Oh, my goodness.
She said that there were times where she maybe got an extra thing of milk, but sometimes the milk was bad and she couldn't drink it. So I can't imagine not having a fridge to run to. Now, we know that these women are where they are because of decisions they made, but statistically, women are mostly in prison compared to men for nonviolent offenses. So you're looking at a lot of addiction issues. You're looking at maybe fraud, but I think the overwhelming majority of women that are in for nonviolent crimes. So I just think that as a whole, after researching beyond what my friend said, we need, there's a lot of people out there who care about the unborn and make it a mission. And we need to be voices for these women getting care while they're in prison, because the thing is, these kids are going to go back out into society.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure these babies are being taken care of.
Well, I remember with your pregnancies and some of my other friends who've had kids, the food you eat is different. I mean, there's vitamins you have to take. There's, I know, like you can't have regular lunch meat.
Well, there are
Like you're supposed to warm it or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain cheeses you're not supposed to eat, although I doubt they're getting feta cheese in prison.
Yeah.
But there are risks.
You can't eat feta cheese when you're pregnant?
You're not supposed to.
Really?
It can cause listeria.
Dude, I'm glad I don't want no kids because I like feta cheese.
Well, a couple of times I ate it without really knowing I had eaten it, where it was maybe on a salad, and I thought it was blue cheese, and I took a big bite, and it was feta. But there are things like that. I don't think that that's the issue. I mean, I think your chances of something happening to your baby from just eating lunch meat or feta are so small, but it is a risk. The point that, it's just if you're hungry and when you're pregnant, you have to really listen to your body. And so if you're pregnant and you're in jail or prison and you need a snack because you don't feel good, it's not a guarantee you're going to get it. So a lot of women that I researched after I talked to my friend about it, all complained of the same thing. They were starving the whole time they were pregnant in prison.
Wow.
You may have friends but the thing is this too. If you look at the choices they have from the commissary, it's all high sodium. It's not healthy stuff. These people essentially live on ramen.
Yeah.
Ramen is sort of the base for every meal that you cook yourself in prison.
It's almost like living out of a canteen, like a machine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the other food that you can get, I've said this before, it's essentially kind of like what you would find at the Dollar Tree, if you could imagine it. It's pre-cooked meat in a foil pack, and they get creative, and we're going to talk about recipes and stuff, but apparently in a lot of prisons, women just aren't given a healthy option when they're pregnant.
The Hartford Small Business Insurance knows that running a small business is a big-time commitment. So this holiday season, they're celebrating hardworking small business owners with a chance to go to iHeartRadio Jingle Ball in Miami on December 16th. Nominate yourself or another small business owner for a chance to win a trip for two. Includes airfare, 2-night hotel, tickets to the show, plus $1,000 in spending cash. For official rules and entry information, visit iHeartRadio.com/smallbusiness.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't even know where to.
No,
I'm speechless.
Yeah, it's you don't consider the little things that we do as free women when we're pregnant. They're not allowed to do that. They're not allowed to walk to the kitchen and say, "Hey, I'm hungry. I think me and the baby need some food.
I need a peanut butter and jelly sandwich."
You know what they call peanut butter sandwiches in prison?
What?
A choke sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
I eat those all the time, though. My Granny Vera, my dad's mom, anytime we went to her house, we had peanut butter sandwiches, and it's a comfort thing for me, but they are choke sandwiches for sure.
No, I'm going to tell you this. There is something that grandmothers do to peanut butter sandwiches. I don't know what's in it. You remember in elementary school, even the lunch ladies in elementary school, they put it was like honey. I don't know what it was, but
magic.
It was so good.
It was magic.
Yeah, it was good.
Peanut butter sandwiches don't hit the same when you're an adult. They just taste better as a kid.
But see, I have to have milk, and then milk runs my sugar up. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I bet it does. So in 2019, the American Journal of Public Health said they studied 57% of the female population in U.S. prisons. Now, this isn't jail, this is prisons. 3.8% of newly incarcerated women were taken in while pregnant. There were 753 births to women that were incarcerated in 2019. In 2020, the American Prospect reported an average of 1,300 women gave birth every year while in jail or prison.
Wow. I have a family member who's given birth 3 times in prison.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Yep. 5 kids and 3 of them were born there, and she didn't get to see them hardly. Maybe, I don't even know. They took them.
They take them quickly.
Yeah. Yep.
And we'll talk about all that in a bit. So how many children right now average in America have a parent incarcerated?
The stats say over 2 million children have a parent incarcerated. That is so sad.
It is terribly sad.
What are we doing to these kids, man?
We're not doing our job.
Yeah.
We're failing kids on so many levels right now as a country and a society as a whole. If you look at all these misread flags that are everywhere. The Gabriel Hernandez documentary lays it out really in painstaking detail. And then the case we're covering with Victoria Rose.
Yeah, these kids don't have a chance. I mean, come on.
They don't. The Sentencing Project, sorry guys, we've got the southern snow going on here. My red Jeep is yellow. The pollen's in full effect, and so we're going to be clearing our throats a lot.
Yeah, literally. And I forgot to get water before I sat down. But yeah, it's bad. It's everywhere.
It's terrible.
Yep. It's like chalkboard dust everywhere. If you don't have pollen where you live, be thankful.
Yes.
So you were talking about the Sentencing Project.
Oh, yeah. They say more than 60% of female incarcerated inmates in state prison have a child under the age of 18.
Wow.
So that's a huge number. It's just these children are being raised by people other than their mothers. Goodness knows how many of those fall through the cracks and live in terrible situations. And yeah, I don't know the solution. I just know that there are so many kids out there that are at risk, and we just don't have the number of people we need to have in place to check these kids. And you always can say it, you make the child, you take care of it, but that's not very fair to the child to say, well, your parents had you, and it's not our responsibility to make sure you're okay.
Yeah. Just if people would follow the law.
Right.
Just follow the law. And morals, it doesn't matter what nationality, religion, anything. Morals are morals.
Mm-hmm.
And just do the right thing.
Yeah. It's just a cycle. And I would be interested to look up a statistic of kids who have one or both parents incarcerated while they're under the age of 18. What percentage of those kids, of those, 2 million we just said?
Yeah.
Go on to follow their footsteps. It's a cycle a lot of times that we see.
Yeah, vicious cycle.
Very vicious cycle. And then it's almost like an heirloom that you pass down from generation to generation.
Yeah.
I was watching The First 48 last night, as a matter of fact. One of the suspects had shot and killed, I believe, he had shot into a car. And there, a 2-year-old girl was hit and murdered. And then the 2 other children in the back seat were injured, but they lived. And then the investigator is saying, mother, prison, father, prison, aunt, prison, grandparents, prison. So
wow.
When he didn't even bat an eye. When they said, oh, yeah, you killed the 2-year-old. Okay. He didn't care. That was normal to him.
It's crazy. Crazy. So there is a documentary about prison nurseries.
Yeah. So in some places, when you give birth in jail, I think there's maybe in 2019, there were 11 states that had this type of setup. So when you give birth, some places allow you to bring your baby back to jail with you. Now, it can be totally from 30 days you're allowed to have that kid up to 6 years in some places. And there's a documentary about this. It's called Born Behind Bars. I believe it's A&E that does it, but I think you can find it on Amazon Prime. I have watched it years ago. It was really interesting.
I'm trying to process in my mind how I feel about that.
Well, you go through all that when you're watching it. I think it's, first of all, it's reserved for nonviolent inmates. They can't have any kind of a felony hold where it's a violent crime, and no escape attempts. But the flip side of that is, even if you meet that criteria, there may not be room in that facility for you to bring your baby back. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, but I'm with you. What do you think some of the pros are?
I'm still trying to process it. I mean, obviously you can't even say the bonding between the mother and the child, because eventually it's going to be taken away.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to, I don't want to say age out, but they have to, there's got to be a cutoff school age, you would think. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, creating that bond and then having that broke, that's no good.
Yeah.
For me, I would think you're better off with the baby being taken from the get-go, because the baby's not going to no, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I think one of the only pros I could come up with is it's definitely an incentive for these women who most of them are addicts. And I have a huge issue with incarcerating addicts as a whole, but that's a discussion for another day. But I think it gives them incentive to stay clean because they're able to bond with that baby when they're clean. And they're able to be productive in that child's life because that's all they have to do in there. Focus on that child. So does it maybe help somebody who gets out not fall back into addiction because they have discovered being clean and being a parent is more thrilling than however long whatever your drug of choice keeps you high for? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it would be for the bonding I was talking about earlier. If the child was going to be placed with a family, like the family of the person incarcerated, and then they would be out of prison before long.
Yeah.
Then I could see where that would be a positive because then they do know the mom, and you know what I mean. So
yeah, I think a lot of it is studies have shown even when newborns are taken from their mothers, they theorize it can cause long-lasting issues with the child because you don't bond properly. For me, the one thing I felt reading all of this stuff from my friend, is I felt a lot of sympathy for her because any mother who has carried a child for 9 months and went through the physical toll and the hopes you have, and to have to give that baby up 24 to 48 hours later, regardless of what they've done. I mean, there are violent offenders who don't deserve to have that child. But when you're talking about people who aren't violent offenders, even my friend who was involved in a murder, and I've said it every episode, which the murder was not pretty. She didn't physically kill anybody. It was an association thing, but still, heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
The only good thing I can think about women who are incarcerated while they're pregnant and they're addicts is that drugs just aren't readily available. So maybe the kid has a little bit of a better chance of not coming out addicted to something. But being pregnant in prison, it's going to happen as long as you have a female population in there.
Yeah. And I mean, there is a drug problem in jail too. So
huge. It's not as easy to get it, but you can still get it.
Yeah.
So just a whole mess of stuff. We're going to start with our prison slang terms real quick.
So the first one is crow, which is look out for other inmates committing crimes. Front porch, which is the area immediately in front of a cell door.
I like that.
Yeah. Fishing, a method of sending items between cells using string.
Have you ever seen them do that?
I have not, but
Go
did
ahead.
watch Escape from Alcatraz. There's my movie reference of the podcast.
It is like a sport. Those guys can take a string and a letter and whip it around and go right underneath the other person's cell door. It's crazy.
Huh.
So what's another one?
On vacation is being in solitary. And in the car is you're in on a deal.
Yeah, I love the prison slang terms. Some of them are very creative, and we're just not going to talk about them on here because we try to stay family friendly. But, man, there are some that are great.
Yeah. So you found some recipes.
Well, my friend sent me some examples because I'm quite intrigued with how inmates are able to get very creative with their cooking.
Are you still on that kick while you want to go spend 2 or 3 days in the jail cell?
I never said 2 or 3 days. I said I would do one night, but you got to go with.
Come
on.
I read Chad's books. That was enough jail for me. So now it's your turn.
I would totally go spend one night as a free woman in jail just to see what it was like. I would take one for the podcast.
No, see,
but I would rat
would
you
happen.
I know, my luck.
Something would happen, and they would lose paperwork.
Oh.
The power would go out. There would be a shutdown of the whole prison for 2 months.
Oh, you're so right. That would be my luck.
It would, and you would be stuck in there.
It reminds me of American Horror Story when the reporter goes into the asylum and she gets trapped in there. That would be me.
I would send you a nail file in your cake.
A nail file in my cake.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. So prison cooking is amazing. I need to tweet out and Facebook some links that show these guys who obviously have contraband cell phones in there, Mark Means, we're not saying nothing, but it's contraband.
Maybe their attorney got them privilege
Yeah.
to be on the phone.
And so a lot of these guys actually have TikToks and they take payment. So their commissary accounts are stocked and their cells are wall-to-wall food. So she shared with me one recipe that they did just recently. So they take cookies and they crush them. They mix the crushed cookies with Coke. You kind of get it down to a fine powder. And you shape that into a crust.
Okay, we're talking about the drink Coca-Cola.
Oh, yeah. Not the white stuff.
Yeah,
We're
you
talking
said
about,
fine powder, and I'm like, no, Coca-Cola.
Like, I'd like to buy the
Yeah.
world a Coke.
Yeah, Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
And so they shape that into a crust. And then they mix non-dairy creamer with hot cocoa and a little water. And that's kind of the prison Nutella. Sometimes they go fancy and add candy and marshmallows from the boxes. But we watched a video right before we came on of a guy making a prison cake.
Oh, yeah, it was Twinkies and honey buns and all that. Frosted honey buns at that.
Yeah, so they make that crust and then they layer it with Twinkies or whatever they can find, and they make this paste and they kind of knead it in a bag, and then they put like another layer of that crust on top, and then they sprinkle this sort of knockoff Nutella on there, and it's cake. The other thing that she can make is taffy. You can take non-dairy creamer with pre-sweetened Kool-Aid and add drops of water and keep working the mix until you have a taffy consistency.
That's just weird.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, I'm just sitting here thinking, what is in that makes that do that? I don't think it's healthy.
No, it's
If you
not
could take
healthy.
non-dairy creamer, which... What is non-dairy creamer? It looks dairy, but it's non-dairy creamer?
It's powder. Yeah.
Non-dairy creamer
Yeah, non-dairy. Yeah.
and pre-sweetened Kool-Aid.
Yeah. It sounds like
Yeah,
it would
it's
not
weird.
only rot your teeth, but it would
You gonna die.
it would jack your sugar up to
Oh,
like
yeah. No, you gonna die. That stuff's gonna kill you. It's gonna kill you.
Her specialty is stir fry, fried rice, pasta salads, and Thai food. And she also says she can do desserts like a peanut butter butterfinger cheesecake and a version of a maple but goodie, whatever that is. I've never heard of a maple but goodie. It could be a prison thing. Does anybody know what a maple but goodie is? Let us know.
Yeah, I have no clue.
So let's get on to birth in jail. Let's see what happened. She went in at about 5 months pregnant. I asked her this weekend, and she said she was 5.5 to 6 months
Wow.
when the handcuffs clicked.
You probably know the feeling. Sweaty, fast breathing, quick heart rate. That's a cortisol spike. It feels awful, and its imbalance is the cause of your anxiety. Rebalance Health's 3-part anxiety system helps address it at the root. Rebalance Health lozenges are natural and designed for optimal absorption, providing 24-hour relief. Live life fully without feeling like you're fighting for it. Get 50% off your first month with code CALM23 at rebalancehealth.com.
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
So she found out she was pregnant after several miscarriages. She was scared to get too excited. She joined an online pregnancy board cautiously.
Mm-hmm.
Once she was out of her first trimester, she started working in the nursery. Once the pregnancy progressed, she started interviewing doulas, toured the hospital where she would give birth, and made her birthing plan. So it was basically just normal pregnancy stuff.
Yep.
When she was 6 months along, she was arrested for suspicion and non-cooperation. And this was the first time she'd ever been arrested.
Yeah, and I think the suspicion and non-cooperation was kind of what we saw with Lori and Chad, which was the alteration and destruction, just to get her in. I don't think she was charged with murder until a little bit later, but she couldn't post the bail, so
Gotcha.
she had to sit.
Gotcha. So she says her faith in the justice system was strong and she thought she would be home before she delivered. She says she knew who committed the murder and she naively believed it would be sorted out. She was placed in segregation for her safety.
Yeah, and that's a big thing that a lot of like the ACLU and these organizations, they have a big problem with being placed with, especially pregnant women being placed in isolation just because they're pregnant. You can take everything I've read, you can take a person that has the strongest willpower, mind, outlook, whatever, and put them in segregation, and after a few weeks, they're broken.
Yeah.
And not only that, but when you're pregnant, doctors don't want you to get stressed out. They don't want you to be overly anxious all the time. It's not good for your baby.
Yeah.
So that was one concern. That
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I thought I was going to sneeze.
Oh. I would be interested to see what the birth weights are on babies that are born in prison.
That
to
is
see if
interesting.
that's low.
Yeah.
Because they don't eat like they should.
Right.
So.
But statistically, there have the last couple of years of all the women that have given birth in prison, there have been no deaths of the mothers. And I mean, more children make it than not. There were, I think, out of the 700 and something that we talked about earlier, maybe I think 40 of those were stillborn and you had 3 die as infants. But statistically, it seems like, they're doing okay.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah. So it says, she says she was waiting for a guard to come to her cell. Where was it? Oh, and tell her she was free to go. Mm-hmm. The stress of being in jail caused her to have to be seen a lot due to dehydration and decreased movement with the baby.
Yeah, so most of these facilities are not equipped to handle pregnancy, so they take them to community-based places. I would assume maybe a clinic or some kind of I don't know what you call them, like a pregnancy resource center where they have education and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just to get the checkups.
Parenting center maybe, something.
Yeah, something like that. But they obviously would have to have doctors staffed because they don't send prisoners out for those kind of classes. You can take them while you're in there if they offer them. She just felt like the days kind of turned into weeks and then the weeks turned into months. And then she realized, I think at that point, her charges had been upgraded. And she knew that she was going to have this baby while she was incarcerated. She said the hard thing for her was at night trying to sleep, but you would hear inmates that were in the middle of a mental episode screaming and going crazy, and or you would just have people that were emotional and crying. And she said she would try to just cover her belly so that her baby wouldn't hear it.
Wow.
She felt like after all this time, the hardest part she was knowing that the baby that she had hoped for so long would be born to a detainee, and that there wouldn't be any special welcome and her family wouldn't be with her, and her birth plan where she wanted certain types of music played and all these things women plan for when they're in the birthing process. They don't care about that when you're a detainee.
Yeah.
And so because she couldn't post bail once her charges were upgraded, her birthing plan, she said, essentially became the sheriff's office plan of how they're going to do it. I remember being in my 3rd trimester, and you're just so excited, then you're anxious because, especially with that first baby, I had been around a lot of newborns when I did my rotations in Surge Tech. I did a lot of time in labor and delivery and newborn nursery, but it's you. And you've never had a baby, so everything kind of goes out the window because you don't know what labor feels like till you felt it.
Yeah.
And so she's having to do all this on top of the last few months of pregnancy, which are just hard on the body. She's laying on a metal cot with a very thin pad. There's so many things about it I cannot fathom having to deal with.
Yeah. So all the extras that you need while you're pregnant, you don't have.
You don't have. I mean, by 7-8 months, I was sleeping with a body pregnancy pillow. I mean, It's just, I would drape my leg over my husband to relieve pressure on my back. I mean, it's just, you can't get comfortable in a fancy mattress, much less on a cot. Now, the one thing I did want to say, we fully understand that the victim in this case, her mother, grew her for 9 months, gave birth to her, raised her, only for her to be killed.
Yeah.
It's cruel. And it's sad. And we're not minimizing that at all. As a mother who's done this 3 times, I've had 1 natural and then 2 C-sections. She had a C-section, which I can't even imagine. And we'll get to that later. We're just giving you her experience. And as a mother, I do feel bad that this was her experience. That's a consequence of her actions. But on a basic human level, knowing that mother bond when you're pregnant, and I mean, the minute they put your kid in your arms, your whole world changes for the better.
Yeah.
For her, it was for the most painful.
I think with any case that we're covering or that we read in the news or whatever, it's why it's so important to hang around good people.
Yes.
And to make sure who you're around because their bad decision can also affect you too.
Right. And you were in here 30 minutes ago when I was telling my son, who will be driving in less than a year, about a story. A guy or a 17-year-old young man had been given a Mustang by his mom. He started racing with a friend of his, and I think the speeds ended up well over 100. I want to say like 140. And there was a mom and her baby that were crossing a road out on a walk, and he hit and killed them both. One friend pled down that didn't hit her, and he got 6 years. And so the judge sentenced this kid last week to 24 years in prison for 2 counts of, I think, vehicular homicide. So this kid wasn't even a criminal. He made one stupid decision to go racing on a street. 24 years. The flip side of that is he'll get out in his 30s and still be able to have a family and do all that stuff, to where this woman and this baby will never grow a day older than the day they were killed.
Yeah.
But it is. It's not only who you hang out with, it's stupid decisions you make in a blink that can mess up your whole life.
Yeah. Follow the law.
That's my mommy talk for now.
See something, say something.
Right.
Don't try to hide it. Yeah. So she was told there would be minimal medical staff and 2 deputies present at the delivery. When she asked if a family member could be there, she was told she was an inmate and policy would dictate how things went.
Mm-hmm. She was a scheduled C-section. I was for my middle and last child. My son decided to get stuck, and so I had to have a C-section, which my doctor was more comfortable doing a C-section on my last baby. I cannot even begin to imagine, after 48 hours, being released from that hospital and go back to that metal bunk with that little pad when you have staples across your stomach, your hormones are crazy. I mean, breathing hurt for 2 weeks solid after my C-sections.
Yeah.
And not only that, you're sharing a room with women who don't care.
Yep.
They don't care what you just went through emotionally. Oh, they've lost their kids too.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're in the minority there. Out in public, if a woman loses her child in a tragic way, especially, women hover and they kind of embrace those women. In prison, they do not care.
Yeah, you're not going to get support from anybody.
Zero. You're on your own. And you're on your own not only with your physical pain, but with the emotional pain of having that baby taken.
Yep. So to go to the hospital, she was cuffed and shackled with leg irons. She had arranged for someone to take her baby home once discharged. She didn't want the baby to go into foster care. Her hope was that the legal situation would get sorted out and she would be able to reunite with her newborn shortly. But that never happened.
Yeah, and I think her kid is probably 11 now, 10 or 11-ish. And she knew the person that the baby was going with. Once it became clear that she wasn't going to get out, she really wanted her baby to go with family here in South Carolina, but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So she hasn't seen her baby in 8 years.
Wow.
All right.
So most of the staff at the hospital tried to make her comfortable. The most supportive was the hospital doula. And we know a doula is someone who provides physical and emotional support during the delivery process. I've got a couple of friends that do that.
I would love to be a doula.
You would be good at it.
I love working labor and delivery, and yeah, I would love to be a doula.
No, I'm good. Check, please. I'm out. You go.
You couldn't even feel my babies when they were kicking in my belly.
Uh-uh.
I thought you were going to
Dude.
throw up every time.
Oh, I said, you made me feel, it was Sarah Rose. I don't think I felt the other two.
Mm-mm.
It was Sarah. And I felt that one time, and I said, that is the freakish thing that there's no way that people don't know they're pregnant.
I don't know. My grandma did not know until she was almost 7 months old with my aunt. She felt
You mean 7 weeks? 7 months
7
pregnant?
months. She was big. Like the baby was cooking real good in there at that point.
It's denial. It's denial. Because I felt that, and I was like, no.
Do you remember you could look across, because Sarah Rose was my most active baby. She would do like acrobats in there.
She still does.
Yeah, she does. Except she's not in there. But you could be across the room and see my shirt moving.
Oh, yeah.
It was crazy. And then you'd be like, ooh,
No,
gross.
I said no. There's no, mm-mm,
Yeah.
no.
So the doula held photos of her loved ones so that she could see familiar faces as she got ready for her C-section. And she also took pictures of the whole process for her.
Go doula.
And so when it was time to go in the operating room, she was unchained from the bed, but her ankles were chained to the wheelchair to get wheeled into the operating room.
I'm telling you.
Mm.
This is anybody who is thinking about doing, like, breaking the law, they need to listen to this podcast.
Yeah. So when the chains were removed to get her onto the table, because when you go back for a C-section, they wheel you in a chair and then you get up on the table and get your epidural. And then once you're good and numb, they start cutting you open. But the guards were right there in case she tried to run. And so when she was given her epidural, once they confirmed she was numb, only then were the shackles removed from her legs. Once the epidural had taken effect and she was numb from the waist down.
Okay, I'm going to say this. I'm just going to go there and say this. I don't know what pregnant woman is 9 months pregnant and they're going to be able to outrun the police.
No,
I mean, I'm just saying.
I would have looked like an Oompa Loompa trying to run. I mean,
You would look like Violet on Willy Wonka when she swells up like a grape.
I would get somewhere faster if you turned me on my side and rolled me at 9 months pregnant.
Yeah.
I could not have ran.
Yeah, I understand policy, though.
That baby would have come out like as I ran.
I'm just saying. Unless never mind, I'm going to hush. Okay, go ahead.
So in 2018, the First Step Act prohibited the use of restraints on pregnant women held in federal prisons. This doesn't apply to county jails and state prisons. In addition, at least 29 states have passed laws prohibiting this practice, though they're not always enforced.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean that you're going to get any preferred treatment.
Well, if you're a inmate and you have to go into the hospital, you get chained to the bed anyways.
Yes, I have been in the ER when they have had detainees in there, whether it be a DUI or whatever, and they're chained, and you have cops stationed right outside.
Yep, I had to serve a lot of papers on people like that, and it was not fun.
No.
So
she said when she first heard the baby cry, it was almost as if the baby was protesting the way she came into the world. She said, that's how I interpreted that first cry. Aside from it being sweet and satisfying and fulfilling, but her first cry, it just made her think, look at how this child's coming into this world.
Yeah.
And she was allowed to hold her for just a few minutes there in the operating room, and the baby was taken away. The baby had to stay in NICU for a little bit. I don't know, and I tried to email her, but with JPay, which is the way inmates communicate with us through email, it hasn't. Sometimes there's a delay. I wanted to ask her if the baby was put in NICU just because of the situation, and the baby couldn't be in the room with her all the time. It seems like that. But when she was taken to the NICU to see the baby, she was shackled to her wheelchair. And once she was there, the shackles were removed from the wheelchair, and then she was shackled at the ankles. So you're in there with other families who have babies in the NICU who are premature, whatever reason they're in the NICU, and she is shackled right there among these families.
I'm going to tell you, if I'm the other family, I'm going to be a little worried.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, not for myself, but I think it would be stressful for other families to see all that.
I think so.
Because they're not going to know what she did.
It's not a right. And some people might not look at it as a stigma of, oh, she's an inmate, but it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's uncomfortable for the other families because you're there with your baby who's sick, and here's a woman in shackles who is, I mean,
and you don't know what she did. And
right.
I mean, it's
exactly.
stressful enough.
Mm-hmm.
So then you got that on top of it.
It would be hard.
Yeah.
For sure.
So not all women get to stay with their babies in the NICU. Some are discharged 24 to 48 hours later, depending on how you delivered.
Mm-hmm.
She remembers shuffling to the bassinet and hearing the clinging of the shackles. The other families would stare at the shackles.
Yeah, and that's what we just talked about. It's
Yeah.
It's awkward. You don't. I think for me, I wouldn't know whether to feel sorry or what to feel. Yeah, NICU is a very stressful place, and a lot of really amazing things happen in NICU. But that probably just added another layer.
Yeah.
Do you look? Do you stare? Do you act normal? Do you try not to look, which makes it obvious you're trying not to look?
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be stressful on everybody in there.
Yeah.
And the thing for her is she said every single visit for those 48 hours was so emotional because she just didn't know at what point they were going to say, okay, you're discharged.
Yeah.
Usually after a C-section, it's 2 to 3 days. That's about the max. If you otherwise have a normal delivery, it's about 2 to 3 days, and then you're gone with your baby if you're not a detainee.
Yeah.
But for a natural birth without a C-section, she said the typical hospital stay is about 24 hours. So these women have to say goodbye unless they're lucky enough to where a family member takes them home and then brings them in for visits.
Yeah.
But some of these women go through labor, delivery, hello, and goodbye within 24 hours.
Yeah, and you have all the emotions that go along with that too. So.
Right. These women, some have postpartum depression. Your hormones are crazy.
Yeah.
I never felt so out of control of my emotions than just the few days after birth while those hormone levels are coming back down. It's a wild ride. So, and she said that sometimes these women that come back from giving birth, especially if they have a long sentence ahead of them, they give up. They try to kill themselves. They may just start acting out. They just don't care.
Yeah. So while she was in her room and wanting to visit the baby, she was very emotional. One of the deputies told her that they wouldn't take her to see the baby while she was upset because it wasn't fair to the other families in the NICU to see her upset because her baby was healthy and their babies were not, and they were crying.
And they were not crying.
Were not crying, sorry.
Yeah, and I sort of understand that. Like you say, if you have these families that are daily overcoming odds with their children, a lot of these kids it's touch and go. They don't know from 1 minute to the next if the kid's going to have a setback. NICU's just such a stressful place. So I can understand that the deputy might not want to take her in there emotional because just out of courtesy for everybody else. I get that.
Yeah. So I guess that answers your question.
It did. And
Yeah.
these emails come in pieces. And so sometimes it's just hard to piece them together. Well, yeah, because I may get part of it. This was sort of a 4-part email that she sent me.
Yeah.
And I got part 4 before I got part 1, which was 3 days later. So sometimes it gets.
You read the last page of the book.
I knew the ending before the beginning.
Spoilers. She would rock her baby and look into his eyes and wonder what color they may be. She felt staff didn't help her as much because she was an inmate. She did say one nurse was great with her and helped her bond with the baby as much as she could.
Yeah, and she had given an example of one nurse who she had asked for help with nursing because whether you're an inmate or not, when you have a newborn, the first few days, that colostrum is liquid gold. It gives that baby so many antibodies. And so she had asked for help with nursing. And the nurse said, why? You're an inmate. You're not going to be here.
Wow.
And then she had another nurse who said, yeah, let me show you how to do skin to skin. Let me show you how to get the baby to latch on. So you do have sort of, I guess, people that work in these areas who just see inmates as trash and not worth help. And then you have probably more than not, you have staff members that see you as a human and as a new mother who is about to face something, regardless of why you're in, something that's going to be probably the hardest day of your life.
Yeah. So she was awoken and told that she was being discharged and going back to jail that day. She had one more visit with her baby. She rushed to memorize every detail of the baby. She says her belief in being released was the only way she was able to say goodbye.
Yeah. And she says once she got back to jail, she said 2 things dried up, my faith and my milk. And I understood that. I mean, it's because that just, when that milk dries up and you don't have your baby, that's kind of, your motherhood is gone. I don't want to say gone. She will always be your mother or his mother. But that's the end of your pregnancy and delivery experience. I mean, she's given birth, the milk's dried up, it's over. Somebody else has your child.
Yeah.
Has to be crazy.
Yeah. So she saw her child some for the first couple of years. After that, the visit stopped. She said the worst part for her was when her son said mama, and she realized he was talking about the legal custodian of the baby. So until the trial was over, her parental rights were suspended but not severed. If she was acquitted, she could get custody back.
Yeah, and her family did try to get custody of this child to raise with her cousins and with family. My friend feels like she was duped a little bit by this person who took custody of this girl. She claims that she had been told by this person that the guilty person had confessed and she was going to be out of there in a few weeks and she would keep the baby. That's her side of it. But at the end of the day, the courts did not allow this baby to go with her family. She still writes weekly letters to her daughter. She doesn't know if she gets them. She thinks not. She still dreams of being reunited with her daughter. She has some appeals that are going on, but after 10 years, she's not going to get her daughter back.
Yeah.
They're not going to take this child from, and I have seen the Facebook page of the woman that has her, and I've seen pictures of her daughter. She's beautiful, looks a lot like her mom, but most importantly, she looks like she has a very stable and loving home. Yeah. And that's just not what my friend, or he, I'm sitting here thinking about 2 different kids, but that's just not something that my friend was able to do in any capacity due to the fact that she's associated with the murder and has been found guilty.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's a lesson to any parent that when you break the law, you're not going to have that relationship with any kid, with your kids, you know?
No. And
they're going to grow up without a father, without a mother, whichever.
Right.
And it's just hurting the kid.
Yes. In 1997, the Adoption and Safe Families Act, which severs the parental rights if the child is in foster care for 15 out of 22 months, that was signed into law, I think, by Bill Clinton. So the exception of that is if the child is with family. But what I was thinking about is this. What about where we are now with COVID? So let's say you have a nonviolent offender who is given birth in jail, but their trial is going to be longer than the 15 to 22 months that child's been in the foster system. I wonder how that works.
Yeah,
I don't know. The bottom line, like we said, don't do crimes, people.
Yes.
And then you won't have to worry about this. But it was very eye-opening for me. I think it's a thing that is interesting. Like I say, there are a couple of documentaries. There's also one on Netflix, and I'll have to find the name. But it's an episode series where they actually are in one of these facilities where the children are brought back and raised up to a certain age.
Yeah.
So those 2, what was it? Born. Let me go back up and find it. It was, what was it?
Born in jail or something?
Born Behind Bars.
There you go.
So that's one. And then I will try to find the other one that is the episode series. And so it's a really good look at how these women function when they have babies. Yeah. So that's kind of all we have on this. There is more, but this really summed it up. I kind of weeded through some of the accusations and things like that because it didn't matter to what we were talking about. But yeah, so we're just going to keep doing some of these little a Glimpse at Life series, people are very interested in this.
Yeah. And I think it shows. I mean, I know this was on having a kid while you're in jail, but it shows the hard reality of it's not a normal place.
No.
It's not, you don't get to do normal things.
No.
And these cases that we're following, these people who are found, if they're found guilty, what they're going to be facing for the rest of their life.
Yeah, and so I think the next, unless there's any news with the cases that we're covering, and we're going to look back at Wagner, we're going to see if anything has developed. Honestly, we've been really laser focused on Vallow with the uncertainty of what's happening with her right now and these hearings being paused. But if we don't have anything else going on Wednesday, I think we're going to, I'm waiting on some answers from her about women killers that kill their children.
Yeah.
And I've asked her a slew of questions about that. If you guys have any questions, please Facebook, Twitter, YouTube them to us, and I will send her. She loves answering questions. I think this has given her a little something to do. She is waiting on her appeal. I think last week her case was to have been heard, although there was no oral arguments. It was just going before some appeal board based on a law that was changed in the state she's in, where people who were not the murderers but got life without parole under the felony rule can have their case revisited for resentencing. But they accepted the filing to hear the case, but it doesn't mean they're going to change anything. So she's waiting on that. She won't know for a few weeks. I don't see anything online about an update on that. And so maybe she'll know in the next few days. She does have a family member that's in touch with her attorney. But, I mean, I don't think she'll get out.
Yeah.
She has this dream that she's going to get out and go across the country getting to know her daughter in an RV. And I guess maybe that's how you don't lose your mind, though, in jail or prison. You just dream.
Yeah.
You imagine what you would do. Because otherwise, the reality of where you are, it almost to me would be too hard of a burden. I don't care what they did. Your personal thoughts are still your personal thoughts.
Yeah.
And that feeling of being incarcerated, I guess if you can't dream, then it's just the same old thing every day.
Yeah.
So you have to hope for something.
Yep.
All right, guys, I think that's it for us. Yeah. Let me know if I should let this stupid cat just out so he will not bother me. If he keeps going at 3 a.m, he's getting put out. I'm not even kidding. I'll be like, bye.
Let her know, guys.
Here's your little pack of kitten food for when you get hungry.
Here you go. You can feed the cat. The cat's fine.
No, I'm just saying, I'm gonna pack him up and say, oh, whoops, that door's cracked. He got out. And then I can just go lay down and be at peace.
There you go.
I'm just afraid he'll get hit by a car and I got to pay like $2,000 for a broken cat leg.
Yeah, it's no fun. My mom had a cat, got run over like that one time. Had to wear this little bandage on his like little back end and had his little leg in a cast.
Oh my God. Cats are so cute when they have to walk in casts.
Yeah.
And wear the cone of shame, and it's all fun and games till somebody ends up in a cone.
Yeah. I'm going to bring you some of them steaks though, so you can stake that thing down. So it don't go tumbling.
They look like a little tumbleweed going across my yard. The cat just was like, what the heck?
What is going on?
I tried to get him out. He tries to attack me because he thinks I did it for fun. Because I'm over there laughing. Like,
well, was the water bowl in there is the question.
The water bowl was not in there. It was just the cat in the tent. I guess maybe I should have put something in the corners to weigh the tent down because I didn't know I had to stake it in the ground. I had it on the concrete.
Obviously, you've never been camping.
No, not in a tent. I've been in a camper that had slide outs and a fireplace.
That's glamping.
Okay, well, I've been glamping. No time for camping, but the cat was just rolling across. I mean, see, that's the thing. If I'd ever been camping, I'd have probably went off the side of a cliff if I didn't stake my tent down.
Yes, you would have. Right off the side.
All right, guys. Yeah. Well, we're going to let you run, and unless something crazy happens, we'll see you guys on Wednesday.
See you later.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.